Chelsea versus Man United is an absolute must win. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And we're coming back off a balanced, disappointing loss against Bayern Munich. I did a watch along yesterday, and I did a live stream with the Blue Lounge, and I did my match review video, so you can go and check that out if you haven't seen it already. Ultimately, without getting too far into that, it was disappointing, but there were lots of positive things in it, right? I never necessarily expected us to go in and actually beat Bayern Munich, and the fact that we even looked like we might have been in the game for a little bit was something in itself. So, coming off of the back of that, going into the Man United game, why is it a must-win? But guys, before we get into it, if you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so Man United and Chelsea. So do you know what? Obviously, Man United have been torrid for years now. Years and years and years and years. They're not doing very well at all. And they've just come off the back of one of their worst season ever in the Premier League. They sacked one horrible manager to hire another manager that looked really promising, but is also kind of turning out to be a little bit horrible. So these are just some of the reasons why this game is a must-win, man. But what we have to juxtapose this with is the fact that every single time we play Man United, it's a tough game. We've never just steamrolled them, do you know what I mean? Or not in recent memory, at least, do you know what I mean? So even though Man United are in trouble, I think it's fair to say there's a lot going on. You know, the manager's not happy, the fans aren't happy, the players aren't happy, the board aren't happy, nobody's happy at Man United. It's still going to be a tough game. I would have thought it is one ultimately I expect us to win, but it's going to be a hard game, man, because Man United's always a hard game. So let's talk a little bit about where Man United are at the moment and where Chelsea are at the moment and why we should absolutely 100% win this game, and we'll go into my predicted 11 a little bit later. So Man United have won one of their last 5 games, and it was against Burnley, and they barely scraped that as well. They are losing, they are drawing, they are just not having a good time at all. Despite spending a serious amount of cash on revitalising their front line, the obvious issue for them seems to be the midfield, right? Do you know what I mean? They're playing like a late 30s Casemiro with a Bruno Fernandes next to him in the deeper part of midfield, which fans and commentators alike seem to be pointing out as one of the main reasons that they're not doing very well. But at the end of the day, whatever it is, the players that they have don't seem to be working particularly well with Ruben Amorim's system, and the new attacking players they've brought in thus far haven't proven enough to kind of cover up some of those issues that they're having, right? So Man United are, like I say, man, it's always a tough game. It's absolutely always a tough game, but we should win this, man. We absolutely should win this. So after the loss to Bayern Munich, which in itself was kind of expected, we need to start building momentum from somewhere. At the end of the day, that was our first loss in our last 5 games. Do you know what I mean? So we are literally on opposite ends of the spectrum from Man United in terms of the momentum that we've been building. I guess you could expect to say Man United are underdogs going into this game just because they've been doing so bad for so long. But at the same time, like I say, man, always a tough game, absolutely. Ruben Amorim is definitely on the precipice of, you know, the job, it seems, one way or the other. I think sacking him is a bad idea because I'm a Chelsea fan and I like watching Man United do badly. But also at the same time, it's like every single time they just do the same thing over and over and over and over again. They bring in a manager, buy him some players for his system, but not enough. And then the manager's like, oh, I can't play my system with these players. And then he does really badly. They sack him, they bring in another guy, and then the whole roller coaster just starts all over again. So we should be able to use that to our advantage, man. We've got injury issues and lots of young players and stuff, but Maresca's definitely bedded in the system. He's adaptable tactically, do you know what I mean? And because Ruben Amorim is such a system manager in, you know, I play this way and I never change and never do anything else, it's kind of going to be like playing to their weaknesses rather than trying to figure out what they're going to do to counteract us. It's not going to be like the Brentford game where they just pile 10 men behind the ball all the time. They will try and come at us, and that will open space for us to have a little go. So this is it, man. We need the momentum from this game. Obviously, we're going to win the Lincoln game, and we can't lose this, come away from the Lincoln game, which will probably have most of the B team and bench players starting on it anyway, and be like, oh, okay, things are going now. Like, this game has to be the start of the winning train. Do you know what I mean? 100% this game has to be the start of the winning train for us to really get something out of it. And like I say, man, just start building that momentum. So with all of that in mind, Man United only winning 1 out of their last 5, having a torrid time in general, having a pretty weak midfield that you would have thought we'd be able to completely dominate. And Chelsea only losing 1 of their last 5, albeit coming off the back of a loss, struggling a couple of times. You know, obviously Crystal Palace was really tough. Brentford, we definitely should have put that game to bed. At the end of the day, like I say, this isn't going to be like a low block team. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to have really good opportunities to go out and play some football. So we have, you know, this is a must win. I can't say it enough. For me, this is an absolute must win. A draw, I would be annoyed, but not necessarily disappointed. If we lose this game, I will be furious. I will genuinely be furious because, oh man, if you can't beat a Man United team that are at this point, do you know what I mean? It's like, what chances have we got against anyone else? So let's have a little think about the starting 11 that's going to go into this game, right? With who's available, who played the last game, who's on form, who's been rested, all this, that, and the other. Also bearing in mind that we can afford to be a little bit more attacking in this game than maybe we were in our setup against Bayern Munich. But guys, before I get into the starting 11, I just want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that I have just launched my new game, the 11sies League, right? So my membership is active now. If you want to go and join my membership and play this game with me, you absolutely can. I'm going to give my starting 11 here, and I invite you to do the same in my comment section. If you guys think you've got a knack for predicting starting 11s, then join my membership, get it in the comments of this video, and put yourself in the chance of winning a fabulous prizes, right? I'll link the video explaining the rules to the game at the end of the video and what you need to do in order to enter. So with that aside, let's have a little look at my predicted 11 for the Man United game. Goalkeeper is Robert Sanchez, and you know what? I'm getting happier and happier and happier to say that at the moment because, oh mate, he was so good against Bayern Munich, man. At the end of the day, he was probably tested more than he should have been because our issue in that game 100% was our defensive acumen. Do you know what I mean? Our defenders were a little bit all over the place, the centre-backs in particular. But Robert Sanchez, when he was called into action, stopped that from being an absolute destruction job on us. We could have lost that game 5 or 6-1 if Sanchez hadn't pulled it out the way that he did. So I'm really, really happy with Sanchez at the moment, and going into the Man United game, he probably feels really good as well. Also, one of the things a guy in my comments mentioned that I absolutely agree with, Robert Sanchez starting to bark orders and marshal his defence a little bit. So maybe also growing into a little bit of a leadership role, which you need somewhere at the back, don't you? You absolutely need that somewhere at the back. So yeah, Robert Sanchez in goal, and I'm super happy to say that right now. Right back, I'm going to go for Reece James, right? So there's a few reasons for this. Malagusto isn't playing badly recently, do you know what I mean? But I think that, well, you'll see obviously when I get into midfield why I'm thinking this as well, but I think that we just need Reece James in his best position if we absolutely want to win this game. This isn't a time to experiment or to try and take advantage of or whatever. You know, in our defence right now, which is easily the weakest part of our entire team, we need our captain there. He needs to play that right back, right centre back role and be able to marshal the defence, be available for the amazing free kicks and, you know, the odd cross and this and that and the other, not exactly bombing up and down the byline like he used to, but 100% we need Reece James to be that way in this game. Centre backs, even though they had a bit of a tough time out, I'm going to stick with the 2 tried and tested guys that we're using at the moment in Trevor Chalobah and Tosin Adarabioyo. This is also largely based on the fact that we've got the Lincoln game coming up, so people like Achiampong and Badia Shield, who I'm pretty sure is back now, will probably get starts in those games, or Wesley Fofana, for instance, will probably get a start in that game. We haven't seen much of Achiampong since the opening game of the season. I do expect him to play a bit more as we go, but again, this is an absolute must-win game, and in general, Tosin and Chalobah are doing a good job, and, you know, they're still kind of figuring out this thing, because both of them were the second centre-back last season, weren't they? It was always pretty much Levi Colwill and Chalobah or Tosin, but now obviously they're playing together, and, you know, neither of them, I mean, Tosin's got closer to Levi Colwill's skill set, but not exactly there, do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I trust him enough in this game 100%. So Tosin and Trevor Chalobah in the centre-back roles for me. That brings us to left-back, and obviously it's Marc Cucurella. I would expect to see Yoro Hato start against Lincoln. I'm basically spoiling my match preview for Lincoln in this game. I'll try and stop doing that. But the thing is, Marc Cucurella can play a different role in this game, right? Because when you've got Malagusto on the right, Marco Correa has to be more reserved. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise he leaves his centre-backs exposed with the whole back three and him being he has to play more of that left centre-back role. With Reece James on the right, Marco Correa can be a lot freer to be a byline guy or a midfielder or a normal style left-back or whatever. Do you know what I mean? When Cucurella's been at his best, it has been when he's got the opportunity to play that more free role, and he's absolutely brilliant at it, to be honest. And he can't really do that if Malagusto's on that right side, because he needs to be back there to shore up the defence, because Malagusto is the byline guy, not really a really, really good defender like Cucurella is. But when we've got Reece James there, Cucurella can go forward, be a number 6, a number 8, a number 10, a left winger, whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I think that kind of versatility will play really well into our hands in this game in particular. So, Marc Cucurella at left back. Right, the midfield pivot. So, I'll start with the easy one. Moises Caicedo, just better and better every game. I don't really blame him for the penalty against Bayern Munich yesterday, because at the end of the day, I do feel that was more to do with the centre-backs not really marshalling themselves very well and not being in great positions. He had to sprint back and make that tackle to try and stop the goal when it ended up in a penalty. So I don't really necessarily blame him for that, because it was a lot being asked of him in that moment. But at the end of the day, Moises Caicedo is one of the 3 best players on our team, like almost hands down. Do you know what I mean? He's so good, and he's got to start this game. So that takes us to the next midfield pivot spot. And I'm throwing Andre Santos in there, man. I think, so I've spoken about this a little bit in the video yesterday. Enzo Fernandez, right? Enzo Fernandez can be good for a goal and an assist, but he doesn't really connect the game together. He doesn't really act as a mid. It sounds ridiculous, but I just feel like he doesn't play really midfieldy stuff a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? He can be there at that last moment to make something great happen, like I say, like a great goal, crash in the box, or a really nice assist, or something like that. But we need a midfielder that is gonna be more of a midfielder. I know that sounds ridiculous, but for instance, do you remember last season? How much better did we look in general when it was Caicedo and Lavia? Because Lavia was playing as a midfielder, great passer, lots of connective stuff, allowing lots of other players to do lots of other stuff. Enzo Fernandez has a habit of being a bit of a passenger until he does something amazing. Do you know what I mean? And we can't really rely on that, because it's almost like you're playing without a midfielder until he decides that he wants to do something brilliant. I'm not saying Enzo Fernandez is a bad player at all. He got great numbers last season, and he's been really good for Argentina, and obviously he was really good at Benfica and stuff as well. I just think in our system, we need a midfielder that maybe offers a little bit less numbers, but a bit more like general midfield play. And Andre Santos has got buckets and buckets and buckets of energy. I absolutely loved watching him sit down Nicholas Jackson last night, man. That was stunning. It was so good. Literally sat him down within seconds of him being on the pitch. It was one of the first things that happened. It was so good. And I think that Andre Santos needs to start being given opportunities, because I think we just need to look at way, especially bearing in mind their midfield is a weakness as well. Do you know what I mean? With Caicedo and Andre Santos, we've got buckets and buckets of energy, which we can overrun their quite aging midfield with. If we have Enzo Fernandez there, chances are he can make something good happen or get forward and score a goal or whatever, but we've got a lot of other players that can potentially do that. So for me, Andre Santos goes in the midfield for this game. Right, and I'm going to go a little bit cavalier with the front attacking 3 today. I'll start on the right wing. I think Pedro Neto needs a rest, and I think he looked a little bit leggy in the Bayern Munich game, and I really like Pedro Neto, right? And this is absolutely not to say, I know some people have got different opinions, but I think Neto is a great player. I don't think even as a winger, I don't think you always have to be scoring goals or making assists in order to be considered to be useful, right? I think Pedro Neto is a great system player for this system. But with the extra energy in midfield from Santos, I'm going to put Esteval Willian on the right wing, okay? And that is not a detriment to Pedro Neto. I think he needs a rest. I think Esteval needs minutes as well. And he got brought on right at the end of the game in the Bayern Munich game, so it made sense that he hadn't been played up until there with the international break and the illness and yada, yada, yada. But I think put Esteval Willian on the right in this game, and that's buckets of energy and flair and technique and maybe something a little bit unpredictable and difficult for Man United to deal with. I think this might be a great game to give Esteval that chance. Cole Palmer stays in the middle. Absolutely. What a goal against Bayern Munich. It was a great goal against Brentford. He's starting to find his scoring feet, his scoring shoes, his scoring boots, whatever it is. He's finding his scoring boots again. And he's just looking pretty good in general, man. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, Cole Palmer's another one that will benefit from having another midfielder alongside Moises Caicedo that isn't necessarily like when Enzo Fernandez plays, he tries to get forward a lot. Do you know what I mean? But if Andre Santos is kind of not necessarily hanging back, but not looking to be the guy that gets forward all the time, then that gives Cole Palmer a bit more license to roam. And obviously, if we have Esteval on the right as well, then they can like interchange, and we can find Cole Palmer on the right, Esteval in the middle, and more fluid options. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not expecting Andre Santos to kind of run forward and take all of that space. But at the end of the day, even all of that aside, Cole Palmer is just starting to look like he's finding that magic again, and hopefully we can build up to it. He obviously scored, that Man United game in the first season where he scored those 2 goals right at the end of the game. Absolutely unbelievable. He likes a big occasion. He scored against Bayern Munich last night. He's going to be annoyed that we didn't, get something out of that game. So I think putting him in against Man United is a good idea. And on the left, it's a little bit counter to what I said. I did a collab with FFB, Football Fans and Beyond, the other day. Really nice guy, South American YouTuber called Luis. And I was thinking maybe this is I thought we might start Garnacho in the Munich game yesterday because I thought the Old Trafford, do you know what I mean? The Man United game at Old Trafford is maybe a really, really big event and there'll be a lot of heat on him. But at the end of the day, I think Gittins will start the Lincoln game, and I think Pedro Neto needs a rest, and Garnacho needs to start playing more. We need to give Garnacho 90 minutes at some point, and I think we can probably. It's balanced, isn't it? It's 2 things. It's a duality. It's either going to be a big event for him, which might be too much, or it's a big event for him, which he feels even more motivated to go out and get something done because of how he was treated at Man United. So I'm going to put Garnacho on the left, and that leaves up top João Pedro. It's a difficult one, man, because I think João Pedro needs a rest as well, but Mark Gue, again, is going to start the Lincoln game. I've basically spoiled my whole match preview, starting 11 for this now, but obviously we'll see what happens and we'll get into that as and when it comes. But João Pedro needs to start, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, we don't really have another option there. I mean, there's been some noise about potentially starting Garnacho up front, I guess, but this isn't the game to do that. Like, we don't really want to experiment too much. Like, I wouldn't even argue. I've not really done much experimenting with this starting 11 at all, I don't think. Santos isn't exactly an experiment because we know what he can do, and, the defence is pretty, shored up and as you would expect. So, yeah, we can't afford, I don't think, to experiment with a front man in this particular game. So it's going to be João Pedro, but I am already starting to get a bit worried about how much he's playing. Obviously, he was a bit, off in the international break and he wasn't very well. He seems to have come back all right. He struggled yesterday in the Bayern Munich game, but at the end of the day, it's Bayern Munich, so maybe they just tactically absolutely knew how to mark him out of the game. Hopefully, he, it's only a couple of days as well, man. Like I say, if we start Mark Gue against Man United, I would be surprised, as I just think it makes sense to put him in the Lincoln game. But yeah, man, João Pedro up front for me. And that's it, guys. That's my starting 11. Tell me what you think in the comments. And like I say, if you are interested in having a little bit of fun, winning some prizes, getting some bragging rights against your mates, check out my membership to get involved in the 11s League as well. Whereas if you put your starting 11s in my comment section, then I'll enter you into the prize draw. It goes for the whole season and it's going to be a lot of fun when people start getting involved. So, guys, I'm going to wrap the video up there. It's going to be a tough game, man. It's absolutely going to be a tough game. Man United is always a tough game, even when they're doing badly. Like I say, that's classically been the case for the last few years. Sometimes there's been losses, sometimes there's been draws, sometimes there's been wins. Just because they're playing badly, it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll play horribly against us, and they might find, they generally seem to find some sort of spirit when it comes to playing Chelsea. I'm not 100% sure why that is, but that's normally what happens. So I am predicting a 2-1 win for Chelsea in this one. I think we'll win the game. I think it'll be tough. I think we could even win potentially just by scraping a 1-0 or something, but I feel like with the attacking power we've got versus how Man United have been doing recently, we've got the option and opportunity maybe to score a couple of goals against them. I just worry about our defence, which is why I'm putting the 1 in there as well for against us. So, guys, tell me what you think. Hit all of those buttons because I am on the road to 1,000 subs, and taking that week off has hurt my algorithm a little bit. So I really need you guys' help to get me back up there. So I will catch up with you guys very, very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.